Maybe you've wondered who's selling you these options contracts. Well, you can actually be the seller. Let's compare shorting options versus buying options. With buying options, the pros are unlimited potential for profit, and you have limited risk. The option can go to 1 million, but can only go to 0. This is known as a debit trade because the buyer puts up the money that they are willing to risk. On the other hand, there is a credit trade where you have unlimited risk and limited profit. This is done by selling the option. This is because the seller is taking the money from the buyer and expecting the contract to go down in value and possibly expire worthless. The seller gets paid by the buyer for the contract, receiving a credit. Now, why would you want to sell someone a contract? Well, do you remember one of the biggest risks with buying options? It's the time decay, or theta. If the contract is losing money over time, where's the money going? It's being paid to the seller. And that is the main benefit of being the seller. Instead of a negative theta, the sellers have a positive theta. So if the theta is negative 0.3 for a buyer, it is positive 0.3 for the seller. The seller is like an insurance agent, just collecting premium from the buyer as time goes by. Think of everything you have just learned about options and flip it upside down with shorting options. If you sell a call to open, it is a bearish play, not a bullish play, because you want the buyer to lose. If you sell a put contract, then it is a bullish play, because again, you want the buyer to be wrong. Let's try to clear it up by talking about the deltas of options on both sides. On the buyer side, a call is a bullish trade with a positive delta. On the seller side, the call is a bearish trade with a negative delta. On the buyer side of a put option, it is a bearish trade with a negative delta. And for the seller of a put option, it is a bullish trade with a positive delta. The negatives of buying options can become positives by being on the other side of the deal. For example, think of the real-world example of John and Dan. John was the buyer of the call option contract, and Dan was the seller of the options contract. Whether John decided to exercise the contract or not, Dan receives the $15,000 in premium. If John exercises the contract, Dan is obligated to give him the house for $300,000, no matter the current value of the house, because that is what was on the contract. This is called assignment. So when a buyer exercises, that makes it so the seller gets assigned. You may have heard that the majority of options actually expire worthless, and it's true. About 3 of 4 options expire worthless, meaning they expire out of the money, not in the money. Some trader strategies are solely meant to collect premium or sell options contracts that they think will close out of the money, thus expiring worthless, and they make 100% of what the buyer paid them. This is called max profit. Now that you understand what a short option is, shorting a single option is called a naked trade. It's a bit different of a mindset. You want the IV high so that the contract that is sold has a lot of premium that can decay. You want as high of a premium as possible, giving you a larger max profit. Also, instead of thinking you want the stock to go up or down, when you sell an option, you just don't want it to breach the strike price level. For example, if you sell a put option contract at $100, you want the stock to stay above $100 into the expiration date, with the put option expiring out of the money, thus expiring worthless. You will make the same amount of money if the stock closes at 101 or at 201, because your max profit is capped at what the buyer paid you at the beginning of the deal. For a call option that you sell at $100, you want the stock to not close above 100 by expiration. You will make the full premium if the stock closes anywhere below 100. Overall, shorting options can be very consistent as it has the odds in your favor, but it does have the unlimited loss potential. You also have some bigger risks. If the contract is in the money, as the buyer can possibly exercise and force you to be assigned the stock at the strike price in the wrong direction. Thankfully, there are ways to do defensive moves, and that is option spreads. We'll go over them in the coming videos. So I'll see you in the next one.